Yeah. Good morning, gang. Happy Monday morning. Okay, so now we see what happens from here, because it keeps getting more and more dangerous and interesting out in Los Angeles. We still have crazy amounts of riots going on, but now, of course, it's Monday. The weekend is over. So, will we see the riots slow down? Everybody's got to go to work, right? I say that tongue in cheek. Yeah. So now we have more going on. And the media, like I said yesterday, is spinning this as peaceful protests. Why don't we take a look at what CNN had to say about it?
We're having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests, people that are there to protest. The president is sending the National Guard because he doesn't like the scenes. He doesn't like the scenes of people peacefully protesting.
Okay. Not to be outdone, hey, let's see what ABC had to say about it.
Demonstrations had been going on right outside the Federal Detention Center. Most of those demonstrations were very peaceful. They were chanting, they were shouting. People were driving by, honking their horns. And again, they were expressing their anger about the detention of so many immigrants at the Federal Center. Most of the evening, the federal agents stayed inside the building, but at a certain point, some of the demonstrators got very close to the property. In fact, some of them went onto the property, started tagging the building, started banging on fences, and shortly after all that happened, the agents started firing off tear gas, and then they came.
Yeah. And at that point, I refer you to the clip I posted at the very beginning, the difference between an insurrection and peaceful protests. It's so funny that the media goes out, stays way back, and goes, oh, there's people yelling or people honking their horns. They don't go up in the middle of the chaos. Why? Because they're afraid for their lives. Simply put, they won't tell you that, but these on-the-scene reporters and cameramen aren't going into the melee because they don't want to get hit by rocks or tear gas or set on fire. I mean, last night you had situations where these rioters were throwing Molotov cocktails at the police. Okay? There was one scenario where they blocked one of the highways and set squad cars on fire and had the police officers and ICE officers trapped from both sides under an overpass. Okay? I'm sorry, you get a situation like that, bullets are flying. I'm shooting my way out if I'm a cop. Your rights be damned. Okay? Sorry, there's a difference between protesting and rioting. Okay? So, that becomes a issue. Again, it's Monday. Does this continue? Do we see more rioting today? Here's the deal. Is this eerily reminiscent, guys, to what happened 5 years ago with George Floyd? Are we going to have another Kyle Rittenhouse? Are we going to have another scenario with Korean sharpshooters on the roofs of their businesses? That's what the liberals want. They need somebody to be a martyr. They are hoping somebody gets killed. Yeah, okay. Nobody will volunteer for the job, of course, but they're hoping that ICE or the police or the National Guard or somebody kills somebody. Because then they can justify everything they did. And then we turn into another summer of love, okay? You think about who's out there protesting. Bunch of illegals, mostly Mexicans, okay? No offense to the Mexicans. There's millions of good people of Mexican heritage in the United States. Absolutely, okay? And I will go to the grave saying they are some of the hardest working people I have ever seen, known in my life, okay? Have friends of Mexican heritage. But how many of them are tied to the cartels somehow, okay? Whether their side gig is being a drug mule, or whether they're selling it on the streets, whether they're part of the human trafficking ring, somehow they're tied to the cartels. We're talking Los Angeles after all, guys, okay? And we know the cartels are highly, highly, highly tied to the Chinese and the globalists, okay? That, hey, we got to get fentanyl into the United States somehow, the Chinese, right? Hey, we've got to bring down capitalism, right? Okay, that's the globalists. I mean, there were groups chanting yesterday saying that they were here in the United States to this is what they were saying to the media, to destroy capitalism and to destroy imperialism. That was why they came to the United States. Okay? Not to benefit from capitalism, to destroy it. Who would do that? Socialists, which would tie right into the globalist campaign, right? I mean, take a look at Europe, going completely socialist, with the exception of the former socialist countries who are like, we'd rather be capitalist. We've lived through that hell. But they need a martyr. They need somebody to die. They need somebody to rally around. They need somebody they can build statues to. They need somebody that they can blame the U.S. government for. Because as of last night, you had Gavin Newsom spending his day on social media, not out trying to solve the problem, playing around with his thumbs, okay, hitting Twitter, trying to blame Donald Trump for the violence in Los Angeles. No, Donald Trump's trying to enforce the law. I still get a kick out of Newsom. He is demanding that Trump pull back the National Guard, that the National Guard, the California National Guard, is under his control, not the president's. I'm going to give you this, okay? Being a vet, the abbreviations for the Army, at least. USAR, U.S. Army Reserve. USRA, U.S. Regular Army. USNG, U.S. National Guard. Take a guess what those two letters there, Gavin, U.S. stand for. Okay? It's the California National Guard. You are subsidiary to the Commander-in-Chief of the United States National Guard. Apparently, we're going to send in about 1,000 Marines from 29 Palms. There's also another couple thousand that may come from Camp Pendleton. We're going to get this under control. I said a couple of years ago, if you remember, during the 2020 elections, that Antifa and BLM and all these are tools of the Democrat Party. Some people agreed with me. The Democrats, of course, said, oh, no, we have nothing to do with them. Isn't it funny how Antifa kind of went silent during the Joe Biden era? But all of a sudden now, they're out again. They're out in black. They've got their masks on. They're raising hell. They're burning down buildings. Mostly peaceful protesting. Like I said yesterday, it's in LA. It went to New York. It's probably in other places, just it's not as big as in LA. But this is coming. And wait for the first death. Because there will be one. Okay, no question. And that person will be the martyr, the rallying person, the new George Floyd. That, oh, this terroristic regime is preventing us from living our peaceful lives because, throwing bricks and rocks at law enforcement or Molotov cocktails, burning cars, trapping people. That's the world I want to live in. No. There's a reason a lot of us own AR-15s. Kyle Rittenhouse's experience kind of rings a bell. And I'm afraid that's coming real soon for some people. I hope to God you're ready. Pinball out.